Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive, where we really get into the sources that caught our eye this week.
And this week's dive comes courtesy of the Pythonist programmer. She's a digital psychic, also a software engineering consultant.
Right, and she spent the week, October 20th to 25th, tracking this central tension, this gap.
Yeah, the reality gap. That's the mission today, isn't it? Understanding that divide between the hype, the revolutionary tech promise.
And the maybe less glamorous reality, the actual architecture, the immediate security risks, the human side of it all.
Exactly. We're hitting AI reality checks, digital safety, global tech politics, even brand strategy and, burnout.
Okay, let's start right there. Under the hood of AI, our AI reality check. The sources suggest something pretty surprising about how these advanced models actually work.
Well, it's fascinating. It seems the autonomy we're seeing, it isn't quite a cognitive leap. It's more like really sophisticated delegation.
Delegation. How so?
So when you give these models, like, say, ChatGPT-5, a complex task, especially math, large number multiplication, for example, it doesn't actually calculate it internally. It doesn't think it through in that sense.
Okay, so what does it do?
It delegates. It actually generates Python code to solve the problem, runs that code in a little sandbox environment, and then just gives you the result from the code.
Whoa. Okay, so it's using a tool, not its own internal reasoning.
Precisely. And one source really highlighted this using this Python mode is about twice as accurate.
Twice as accurate.
Yeah, and way cheaper, like 4 to 10 times more cost-effective than trying to make the model do the math itself in what they call no-tool mode.
That's kind of revealing, isn't it? It suggests the core model isn't great at everything we think it is.
It absolutely reveals an architectural weakness. The transformer model itself, the foundation, it struggles pretty profoundly with reliable arithmetic. So the tool use, the orchestration, it's brilliant engineering, don't get me wrong. But it's not the cognitive breakthrough some might assume. It's working around a limitation.
But hang on, if it works, if it gives the right answer and solves problems effectively, does the how really matter, especially to the market? Isn't good enough what counts?
That's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? Analysts argue, yes, it does matter, because this whole delegation trick hinges on one critical thing.
Which is?
Flawless code generation. They call code generation the kingpin.
The kingpin.
Yeah, because better code generation leads to better reasoning, which allows for better, more capable agents. If that kingpin stalls,
Then the whole potential stalls. That huge market everyone's projecting.
that's the fear. And sources suggest we are seeing a stall. That fundamental model capability, especially in code generation, seems to have visibly plateaued over the last year or so.
And that stall might explain the big pivot we've seen from companies like OpenAI.
It certainly looks that way. Think about it. October 6th, they launched ChatGPT apps, essentially becoming an app store.
Right.
Then October 21st, boom, the Atlas browser, taking a direct shot at Chrome. That's a shift from research lab to, well, consumer products company.
So two main theories floating around for why this pivot is happening.
Yeah, basically two camps. Theory one, the sort of pessimistic view, is stagnation.
They hit a wall.
Exactly. A deep architectural wall. Maybe it's fixed size embeddings, maybe attention window limits, something fundamental. And the apps, the browser, they're ways to buy time, monetize what they already have while they figure out the next step, or if there is a next step.
Okay, that's the pessimistic theory. What's the other one?
The, let's call it, cynical theory. It's just about the money.
Simpler.
Much simpler. Training the next big model costs billions. Billions. With a huge risk, it might not even work much better. But building apps and a browser on the models they already have, that's relatively cheap, it's fast, and the profits are much more immediate and, frankly, lower risk.
So plumbing versus foundation.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
That's the core issue. You can have the most sophisticated plumbing, the best applications, the cleverest tool orchestration, but it doesn't fix the underlying architectural problem.
Like the lossy compression in transformers or the lack of real semantic understanding.
Exactly. Real progress, the kind that unlocks the next level, probably needs investment in totally new foundations. Things like graph-based architectures, maybe sparse attention, neuromorphic computing, not just optimizing the current pipes.
And that fragility, that shaky foundation. It leads us straight into our next section, doesn't it? Digital safety and ethics, and this idea of the agentic security paradox.
Yeah, moving from theory to, like, immediate danger. We're seeing these new AI browsers, things like Comet, designed to be autonomous agents, booking tickets, setting appointments for you.
Sounds convenient, but...
But researchers, SquareX specifically, are waving a big red flag. These agents, they're built for productivity, for getting stuff done. They are not built with security awareness.
Meaning they're easy to trick.
Terribly easy. They showed a demo. It's quite alarming, actually. An agent is asked to compile data for a project. Standard task.
Okay.
Along the way, it encounters a file-sharing app that's actually malicious. But the agent's prime directive is complete the project.
So it sees the app as just another step.
Precisely. It grants permission, gives the malicious app access to the user's Google account, their email, because it thinks that's necessary to fulfill the user's request. It doesn't recognize the security threat at all.
Wow. So the drive for efficiency completely overrides any safety protocols.
It seems so. The only real fix right now is to force the human back into the loop for critical things.
Like a two-key system.
Exactly. Nancy Wang from 1Password used that analogy. The browser is the new endpoint, and you need two keys, like a safety deposit box. The agent might have the bank's key to operate.
But the human keeps the key to the actual valuables, the account access. The agent has to ask for permission.
Right. Browser-based and 1Password are working on secure authentication flows like this, where the password itself is never shared, and the human must approve access requests.
It's a necessary friction layer.
Absolutely. And this theme of digital safety, or lack thereof, pops up elsewhere too, not just in AI agents.
Like the Meta Ray-Ban glasses?
Yeah, they were designed with that bright LED warning light, specifically so people know they might be filmed, right? To discourage creepy, non-consensual recording.
Basic privacy feature.
But sources say hobbyists are already figuring out how to modify the hardware to disable or circumvent that light, undermining the intended safety measure.
Ugh. And then there was that massive government data issue.
Right. A hacking group apparently compiled detailed dossiers on, like, tens of thousands of U.S. government officials, NSA employees included, by using caches of stolen Salesforce customer data. The data just wasn't properly secured where it was stored, not protected at rest.
So vulnerabilities everywhere. AI design, hardware modification, basic data security.
And even in apps designed for safety. Remember that women's safety app, T?
Vaguely, yeah. What happened there?
Pulled from the Apple App Store. Apparently, it failed massively on its terms of use issues with content moderation, user privacy, tons of complaints, even reports of minors' personal data being posted. An app meant for safety creating new risks.
That's deeply ironic. And all these failures, AI, hardware, data, apps, they often point back to a deeper fragility, don't they? The systems themselves.
Absolutely, which brings us to the fragility of highly centralized infrastructure. Remember, October 20th.
The AWS outage.
Yes.
US East 1. That was huge.
Huge doesn't even cover it. It wasn't just a few websites blinking offline. It took down services globally. Social media, finance, gaming, food delivery, even Canvas, the education platform. Widespread disruption.
And the most, visceral example of that dependency was the smart bed story.
Oh, the $2,700 smart bed? Yeah, bricked. Completely stopped working because the AWS servers it relied on went down.
People couldn't even adjust their expensive beds.
And look, that's not just a technical glitch. That's a business decision. It highlights this profit-first architecture we see.
How so?
They intentionally remove offline functionality. They make the device utterly dependent on the cloud connection. Why?
So you need their servers, maybe pay a subscription.
Exactly. It ensures continuous connection, justifies recurring revenue, even if it makes the product incredibly brittle and useless during an outage. Resilience takes a backseat to the business model.
It really underscores how much of modern life depends on just a handful of these massive infrastructure companies. We see Roblox is down, but the root cause is often invisible, way down in Amazon's or Google's or Microsoft's cloud.
That concentration of power is the ultimate fragility. And it's not just digital power, it extends into the geopolitical realm, too.
Which takes us to global tech politics and the situation with Afghan refugees in Pakistan.
Yeah, a really concerning development.
Yeah.
Pakistan seems to be accelerating the expulsion of Afghan refugees, people who have lived there for, in some cases, decades.
Like the story of Alamir, 45 years old, born and raised in Pakistan.
And now suddenly facing uncertainty because his official UNHCR proof of registration card, his POR card, is being invalidated.
They feel like they're becoming pawns.
That's the fear expressed.
Huh?
Diplomatic pawns caught between the government in Pakistan and the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. The UNHCR is deeply concerned, stressing returns must be voluntary and dignified. But imagine feeling like you're suddenly illegal in our home, as one person put it, a total loss of belonging.
Such a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And shifting power dynamics domestically here in the U.S., We saw that pardon involving crypto.
Right, President Trump pardoning Changpeng Zhao or CZ, the founder of Binance.
He pleaded guilty, right, to serious charges.
Yeah, violating anti-money laundering laws and sanctions. Big stuff.
And the political framing around this was intense.
Highly polarized, as you'd expect. The White House statement framed it as ending the, quote, Biden administration's war on crypto, putting a clear political spin on it.
While
Critics, like Senator Elizabeth Warren being maybe the most vocal, alleged it was basically a quid pro quo, a reward. There were claims, unverified, linking it to a potential $2 billion investment commitment from Zhao towards a Trump family crypto venture, World Liberty Financial.
So really conflicting narratives about power, influence, and the future of crypto regulation.
Absolutely. Both sides using the pardon to advance their broader arguments about crypto's place in the economy.
And this idea of value shifting, of power concentrating, it connects to our next bit on brand stewardship and visibility. The argument that value isn't in the thing anymore, but in the idea of the thing.
Precisely. It's the shift from product to intellectual property, or IP. We're in the era of narrative capital.
Narrative capital.
Yeah. Brands increasingly operate less like manufacturers and more like IP portfolios. The focus shifts from making a better product that's vertical integration to multiplying the brand itself horizontally.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about high-end restaurant chains. Nobu, Zuma, Cipriani. They're not just focused on perfecting one amazing restaurant experience.
They're everywhere now.
Exactly. They multiply globally, they license the name, the aesthetic, the story for cookbooks, resorts, maybe even clothing lines. The brand world, the narrative capital, becomes the asset you franchise out.
Like Ralph Lauren selling not just clothes, but the whole world of Ralph Lauren as a franchisable package.
That's a perfect example. The commercial goal becomes horizontal IP multiplication, scaling the image across different contexts rather than just relying on the quality of one specific product or service. Maintain the symbol, scale the business.
So amidst all these huge, often fragile systems, AI's shaky foundations, AWS dependency, global politics, the financialization of culture, where does the individual fit?
Which brings us, thankfully, to the human at the center. And our curator, the Pythonist programmer, highlighted this really important concept. Ugly progress, especially relevant in our neurocomplexity and burnout context.
Ugly progress. I think I know what this feels like.
Oh, I think we all do. It's that progress that looks, for all the world, like a massive setback.
Yeah, like spending 10 hours on a project direction only to realize, nope, the whole core idea is flawed. Scrap it. Start over.
Or, you do the hardest part, dragging yourself out of bed super early to finally record that video piece. And you nail the performance, feel great about it, only to find out later the microphone was dead silent the entire time. No audio.
Ooh, that is ugly progress. Looks like failure. Feels like failure.
But the value of calling it progress, even when it looks like a total loss, is purely psychological. It's a coping mechanism, almost.
How so?
It's this maybe borderline delusional interpretation that allows you to accept the disappointment, to maintain the belief that the time, the effort wasn't actually wasted.
It still counts somehow.
It counts as growth. You learned something crucial, even if it was don't use that approach or always check the mic. There's zero tangible output, nothing to show for it immediately, but it was a necessary step. You progressed, just uglily.
Because without that framework, what's the alternative? Just quitting?
Yeah.
Burnout.
Pretty much. If every setback feels like a pure loss, you eventually just stop trying. This idea of ugly progress is maybe what we need to keep going to maintain that psychological perseverance against the constant friction and unexpected flaws, both in our own work and in these bigger systems we've been talking about.
Right. So pulling it all together from this week's deep dive, what are the main threads?
Well, we've seen the steep cost of relying on highly centralized infrastructure, how easily things can break.
We saw how the potentially stalling foundations of AI are being perhaps masked by clever applications and tool use optimizing the plumbing, as you said.
Yeah, focusing on that application layer to keep the momentum and the market projections alive.
And through it all, there's the human struggle. For basic safety online, for a sense of belonging when political winds shift, and just for the mental fortitude to keep making that ugly progress.
It paints a picture of vast, powerful systems that are also surprisingly fragile, with significant human consequences.
So we've seen the AI industry focusing hard on that application layer, the plumbing, trying to sustain profits and hit that, $3 trillion market projection.
Yeah.
But if that fundamental model improvement really has stalled, If the future truly requires admitting we need entirely new architectural foundations, how long can the current approach last? How long before this sort of house of cards supporting the AI coding tools, the agents, and everything else built on top, before it needs a hard reset?
It's a critical question. Which leads us to the final thought for you, the listener. Looking across the tech landscape right now, what area are you betting has the shakiest foundation? Where do you see the next big reality gap appearing?